All right, so might as well take a look around real quick before it starts raining again at some of the trees that are starting to ripen now that didn't get a head start. This is my in-ground Italian honey. I bought it as Oregon Prolific, but it's all the same thing. It's White Marseille, Latarula, Italian honey, Blanche. It's the same fig. Just make sure you get it from reputable stock, not necessarily the tissue culture stuff. Relatively cheap. This is a proven variety for us here in the Northwest. You can see here I've got mean crop starting to swell. Like all honey figs, these have to hang a really, really long time for us before they get good. Last year when it was so hot, they were incredible. Absolutely delicious. So another one that I have over here that's grafted to it is Nurucciola Di Elba. These have not been good at all this year. Really bitter, and just kind of sweet. And they're basically, they're basically the size of a blackberry. And why bother? We have so many blackberries that grow wild here. Why bother growing a fig the size of a blackberry? So I haven't been impressed with it yet. I do have it on its own roots over here. You can see it's fairly productive, but I don't know that those are going to have time to ripen. What's more important for me in this tree is down here. This is my Cardoneo Blanca Negra graft on an in-ground tree. And here at the end of September, the first year in ground, it's ripening main crop Cardoneo Blanca Negra in Oregon. So my findings on it last year were that I believed it could ripen in the ground, and that's so far proving to be true. So my goodness, big boy barks. This is another one. This is a variety called Casariani. It's a Greek fig, but it's a Mount Etna. They're pretty good. You don't often find a Mount Etna that's not good. I do have a couple that I haven't been impressed with, but generally speaking, they do very well for us here. This is just hardened sap. It's nothing to be concerned about or anything, but excellent fig. Very, very sweet, berry flavor. Tastes like a lot of Mount Etnas are very similar, but yeah, that's a nice fig. And as it gets more established, I'm sure the size of the figs will kind of even out. They are pretty variable, and it tends to depend on the variety for me as well. There's another one. They get a nice blue blush on them. Yeah, I like the Etnas. One of my favorite families of figs. Let's see. This is my Stella. And as you can see, not super productive. This is the first year it's fruited. No Breva. And I don't think these are going to ripen before the end of the year, but I've been wrong before. I don't think anything else on that rose got a head start. Didn't get a head start, I mean. This one was given to me as long dute LDA, but I'm fairly certain at this point it's a Brunswick of some kind. Could be Dan's favorite, could be, something else. There's a couple of Potenzas. That's a Mavricica. That's another Etna type that's really good. Very good fig. So those down in here, this is another honey fig that you just have to let it hang as long as possible. But this is one that I got from Mario directly, called Potenza. And I've got the number written on the pot on the other side, but one of his collection. Really, I think it has some promise as far as honey figs go, but I've got so many honey figs, it's kind of incredible. This one did get a greenhouse start though, so I can't base anything on this year with it. Same thing with this one. This is Moscatel Preto. Absolutely monster figs, but with our rain the last day or two, especially with this variety cracks like crazy. They're splitting open. So, Calade Almadique, none of these are ripe yet. Also got a greenhouse start. This one is I'm gonna completely butcher this name. Borda Boraquer or something like that. Call it Borda B, but that's a Pons variety. Relatively late one, but it started in the greenhouse for me. This one did not, and I thought maybe it was going to start swelling, but I think I'm just imagining things. I think they're just dropping. This is pretty spongy feeling. This one's called Ravon de Kais, and I think it's fairly root bound, so it has a hard time staying watered. A lot of my trees are like that. Let's see. He's got a greenhouse start. This one did not. I'm anxious to see if this one drops. This is one from Trees of Paradise called UC Davis Mini. This is main crop. It's supposed to have a phenomenal breba. I've struggled with this tree. It's an old tree. It just is not a vigorous grower, and it really struggles in heat. So, kind of interesting. This is a good one. This one's called Brown Sugar Crunch. My buddy Chris has this one in the ground, and it produces huge fruit really early. Very cool. That one did not get a greenhouse start. It doesn't need it. This is an unknown Etna variety of some kind. It was given to me as a Celeste, and it's obviously not a Celeste. Again, no greenhouse. I picked several off of that one already. This one is a shame because it is early, but I think it's a Smyrna. This one's called Dwarf Gold. And I haven't been successful in getting anything grafted to it either, so I'm getting to a point on some of these. It's like I'm thinking about like cutting bait and going home on some of these. Here's another Etna type. None of the Etnas need a greenhouse start. I've picked several off of these so far. This one's called Narella. I've got more over on the other side of the yard that are ripening. That one down in there is Dark Portuguese. Let's see. Lots of trees. This is another Etna variety called Valoze, or Valoze, or Valoge. I'm not sure. Very nice, pretty blue blush on these. That seems to be more prevalent in this one, I think, than some of the other ones. But one thing I find interesting about this tree is, and it could be an issue with fertilizer, it doesn't have as much flavor so far as some of the others. I have Colasanti Dark that has been absolutely phenomenal this year. Same age, relatively the same vigor, but this one isn't quite as flavorful, and that could just be a year-to-year, tree-to-tree, fruit-to-fruit variation. It doesn't necessarily mean they're any different. That's actually the best one I've had off the tree so far. So that's pretty nice, pretty syrupy. I'm waiting with bated breath for my Noir de Barbentane to ripen something. This is a fun one. This is called Dolce Cuore, and I've got one so far that's starting to swell. This one's in the ground. It does produce Breva, but it didn't produce any this year. Just bad year for Breva. Let's see. This is another Etna. This is one of my Rockstar Etnas. This is one of my favorite trees, and probably the reason it's not in the ground, because if we do ever get some land, I'm going to take it with me to a new place. This is called Sitio Nero. Just a really fantastic Etna type. A little smaller fruit, a little more round than some, but it's got a little bit more seed crunch. It's just got a nice rounder flavor. It's not super sharp. I mean, we're splitting hairs when we're talking about Etnas, right? There are some things that some people pick up and some people don't. Some people pick up like blueberry flavor on these. I don't. They're very berry forward though. Here's another in-ground tree. This one is called De Tres Esplates. This is a Pons variety. And my tree looks terrible because it was wildly underwatered this year. So it didn't grow much. But I did pick the first fruit off of it yesterday or day before, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So this was my best tree last year, my best variety. Very, very impressive tree. So I'm happy with that one. I'm glad I have it. Just looking here. Nope. All right.
Hiya, Beanie. Hey, Daddy.
Let's see. None of these get a head start. This one is called Bordeaux Blanca Negra, and it's starting to color up and swell. I ripened, I gave one tree to my friend Chris, but I ripened all of the crops across both trees last year without any greenhouse help. It's got another one down in there that looks like it's starting to do something, so that's good. This one over here, this is Socorro Black, and honestly, I'm not sure if it's going to ripen or not. I thought maybe I saw a couple of them looking like they were going to start swelling, but it's hard to tell. This one over here, this is a Rockstar. This is Red Lebanese, Baca Valley. Really, really productive, but my tree is small, so not doing a whole lot this year. It'll get there though. This is one of my Vincenzos, and you can see how productive this one is for main crop. Absolutely incredible productivity. But this tree doesn't have anything that's swelling yet, but one of my other ones is. So this one, I don't know what to think. This has been such a weird year in terms of weather, but this tree is supposed to be, at least in my understanding, a San Pedro. Last year it dropped all but one main crop, and this year it's holding on to a lot of them. It's only dropped maybe 40 or 50%, and they look like they're aborting, right? But you open it up and they're partially ripened just around the eye, and they've all been like that. It's bizarre. This is, I think I said it, this is Oro Rosado. Not a whole lot of flavor, but that's definitely like ripening. You know what I mean? Not exactly pretty, but it makes me wonder if it's a water issue, and that this thing actually does hold a fair number of main crop, because you can see in there how big some of those main crop figs are. They're definitely swelling, and at least partially ripening. It's fascinating. I don't have another tree that does this kind of thing. So I think that lends itself more to this one potentially being a viable in-ground option. I mean, it's not terrible. It's better than a brown turkey. I said that before, but I mean, it's true. It's really pasty, kind of sweet. It's weird. Really, really weird. So this is a good one. This is another one of my better figs last year. These are starting to ripen now. This one's called Green Michurinska. I also have this one in the ground, and I have a backup of it because this tree kicks so much butt. It's right up there with DTE for me, and it ripens, you know, relatively around the same time as a lot of Etnas do. But it's a fantastic variety. There's a VDB type. I don't think any of those are ripening yet. I was hoping my Vernal Negro would ripen. It didn't get a head start, but it looks like they're all aborting. So hopefully it's the right variety. This one, so this is Del Vespro, and no head start, no greenhouse, no protection. Lignify is really nice, and it's starting to swell a couple of figs. So that's a very, very good sign. There's one on White Madeira #1, and if it got any head start in the greenhouse at all, it was minimal. So that's odd. Really, really bizarre. Let's see. I don't think I had anything down here. I think these all got greenhouse starts. Probably. So, you know, the backyard's a little disheveled, and there's the weather is starting to turn a little bit. We're gonna have nice weather for about a week now, but here's another Etna that's really good. This is Sangue Dolce. It's a really good variety. You know, like I keep saying, the Etnas, you can't go wrong with Etnas. Whether it's, you know, Red Lebanese, Baca Valley, if that's an Etna, or Sangue Dolce, Colossante Dark, Sitio Nero. There are several that are really good. Ooh. Maybe. That might be starting to ripen. That would be cool. That one's called Ungiarolo. That's another Mario fig. So this is called Nordland, and it's starting to ripen. Main crop right now, not main crop. Oh man, tired of feeling sick. Getting over the nastiness. There's just a nasty crud growing around right now. It's not COVID. It's just nasty crud. So this one is called Hollier. This is an LSU variety. This one did not get a greenhouse start, and I'm assuming it'll ripen the majority of its crop this year. And it's over here where it doesn't get as much sun, so you know, that's an encouraging sign. I'll probably move that one out to a sunnier spot for next year. And potentially put it in the ground. It kind of depends on how they come out. I do have a lot of honey figs. This one over here, this is Vincenzo, as made famous by Ben B up there in Seattle. So it's got a couple ripening on it. It's not an overly late fig, but I think it does need heat. So I'll get a couple on that one. This one is not what it's labeled as on the box, or on the pot. This one's called Brooklyn Unknown, and it's, again, another Etna type. Which, you know, like I said, I got a lot. I did a big review of a bunch of different Etna types last year, and I'm continuing to test which ones I find to be superior. What is that one? This one is Trace al Prato Sofano Claro. It's a long name, but Trace al Prato. So that one's starting to ripen now. I think it's at least Etna adjacent, if it's not a full Etna. I don't think any of these over here have anything. This one is another of my in-ground trees, growing like a champ this year, starting to color some figs. This one's called Ron de Bordeaux, RDB. Again, not in the sunniest spot in my yard, but it's doing pretty good, so that's encouraging. Over here, I've got a Valle Negra that's starting to swell. So this is potted, but it didn't get a greenhouse start. This one here is a black Spanish, I believe, or blackjack. I think it's a Brunswick type. This one did get a greenhouse, but I'm kind of excited about it. This one's St. Martin. Don't think I see anything on Sayreville yet. Another really good Etna variety. This one is called Bronx Italian Purple. unknown. This is from Tony, Figmalion. It's got a few on it that are starting to ripen. This one's in the ground. This one is Black Bethlehem. It's got a nice size fig on it there. A lot of them are smaller, but that's a nice size one. Another Etna type. All my cherry cordials are dropping, and it's not due to lack of water. This one is called Russellella, and I am fairly certain that's another Etna type. The one I had the other day seemed very Etna-ish. So, nothing on Floria this year, believe it or not. I don't think it's going to ripen anything this year. It wasn't very tall when I put it in the ground, so it doesn't really surprise me. Same thing on Teramo. I think this is a lost year for those guys. This is Luschheim, which I put in the ground the first year because it grows like a weed, absolute weed. But it's just now putting out figlets, so that one's a no-go. I may have to end up tearing that one out. We'll see. Let's see. I think all this stuff got a head start. Yeah, all this stuff got a head start. There's Bergen Unknown. It's got a few on it that are starting to ripen, but with that rain, you can see they're starting to crack at the eye, starting to split. So they're hard as a rock too. This one did not get a head start, but it's got two that are swelling on it. This one's Belclair Sport, and by all rights, it looks like another LDA type. So get an LDA, get an Etna. They do awesome in Oregon, in the Willamette Valley. All right, you tired of hearing me drone on yet with my sick voice? I think that's about it. I think everything else was kind of shuffled at least a little bit. Santorini got too dried out, so all of these are going to drop. Whoops. Speaking of which, little tiny figs because it didn't get enough water where it was at. But it's a nice Etna. Or it was before I dropped it. Ondata drops as soon as it starts to ripen, which is weird. I need to talk to Pete and see if that was his experience with it too. Wildly productive fig, way too late. This one's called White Triana. If you want the same kind of flavor profile, get something like Dolce Cuore. It's similar enough, and it's not as late. This one is a late one. This one's called Cardoneo. I had one off of it the other day. The skin on this one is really tough. It's kind of weird. Good flavor, but just tough skin. And you can see there the coal pile is building. Trees that are acting like Smyrnas, trees that just don't want to grow worth a darn. 2 or 3 years in and they're still dropping fruit, or they're not productive, it's time to go. I got too many trees to waste time on that. So some of them are experimental varieties. Some of them aren't. So anyway, all right. Well, there's a walk around the backyard. We got more trees up there, but I'm tired and I'm holding in coughing so I don't do it on camera. So take care, have a great one, and we're coming towards the end of the season. So, yep. All right. Take care.